Good afternoon. Happy Friday. Today, Friday, November 13th. We are almost to Thanksgiving. You got to love it. Kick things off today before I get rolling. You can tell with what I am wearing, I'm going to be smoking today. I'm just so excited to be here. But anyway, disclosures. All of the thoughts and information delivered on this show and opinions are mine. They are not a solicitation to buy or sell anything. This is merely informational purposes only. Investments can and will lose money, and they are not FDIC insured. So with that said, we're going to get rolling. You're probably wondering, Craig, what in the heck is on your head? Well, this is from College Game Day that comes to Lawrence, Kansas about every other year once basketball season starts. And in honor of basketball season getting ready to start, which 2 weeks from yesterday is the kickoff of the college hoop season, where the Kansas Jayhawks, which you all know I'm a Kansas Jayhawk freak, will be playing the Gonzaga Zags. Unbelievable. Now, before I get rolling here, my buddy Mark is a Zags fan, and Mark, you and I both know that the Zags should not be preseason number one. Deep down, I know you know that. We may argue about that because we banter back and forth, but the Zags should not be preseason number one. They just shouldn't. I'm sorry. You know what? I don't believe it. But anyway, you know what? I'm fired up. I'm fired up for hoop season, and in honor of that, I'm wearing my basketball net hat. So anyway, you gotta love it, and it's Friday. You know what? I hope everyone's had a good week. Crazy things happen. I think uncertainty that's been here for quite a while since COVID really kicked off towards the end of February is starting to rise again. And you know what? I'm trying to bring a little lightheartedness to this today, as you know I always do. I'm going to try not to get fired up and cuss so I get in trouble. But anyway, here's what we got today. We're going to talk unemployment and the impacts on the economy, or anticipated impacts, and kind of what I'm seeing from a probability standpoint. You know, I'm a numbers freak, and the data is starting to slowly come in, and there's some good things that are actually happening out there. I know you're shocked to hear me say good things, but don't get too excited. We are going to talk COVID update there, also economic impact, and it's more anticipated impacts, or kind of some different things that can happen. We're going to talk politics. Holy crap, yes we are, because it's hot and heavy right now. You know, we finished up an election, and you know, we still don't have a president technically. But anyway, we're going to talk politics, and I've got my monologue. I'm going to kick things off and then shoot you off on the weekend. But kick things off, let's talk unemployment. We're going to talk PEUC claims first. Those increased from last week to this week by 160,000, which is not something you like to see, because those are the pandemic extra claims, unemployment claims that they signed in after everything has expired. So we've got regular unemployment, and then there's an additional emergency unemployment claim that people can receive. That was 4.143 million people for the week. Initial claims for the week dropped from 757,000 down to 709. That's a decrease by 48,000 if my math serves me correct. Continuous claims also decreased from 7.222 million down to 6.786 million. And total unemployment benefit recipients for the week decreased from 21.531 million down to 21.157. Here's some thoughts, and I'm going to blend the COVID case in with what's going on here in unemployment. We've got COVID cases rising, not concerned about the cases, because we are testing more. A lot more people are being tested. So obviously numbers of people contracting is going to rise. The thing that is troubling is the hospitalizations. And I think what is concerning to state and local governments, both at the state level and the federal level, is the ability to make sure that we can take care of and treat people. Because if hospitals get up filled up to capacity or are over capacity, then all of a sudden hospitals are in a situation where they're even having to ship people to other places that have capacity, or you're suddenly making decisions on who you're going to treat and who you're not going to treat. That's what they're really concerned about. I think that with that being said, and we're starting to see things slowly shut down, I would be shocked, okay, if we saw a shutdown in the same capacity that we saw back in March, where literally they shut everything off and said, stay your butt at home, don't go anywhere, don't do anything. That would surprise me a little bit, because I'm not sure we can handle that type of economic shock again. But with that said, I do think that that is going to provide some challenges from an economic standpoint. It's all really related to spending. You know, we're very much a retail-driven economy. I think 70% plus or minus, don't quote me on that, but it's in that ballpark, of our GDP is retail-driven, meaning in America we are spenders. And due to circumstances that are going to reduce or challenge our spending, we know that is going to impact us economically. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Now, granted, yes, you know, on the vaccine front, there's things coming, but here's the deal. It's going to take a couple years for this really to play out, okay? When you look at the numbers from a vaccine standpoint, which Pfizer came out here, which I told you about a couple weeks ago, Moderna's kicked theirs out, J&J. So we're seeing the results of a very focused attempt to really create some good quality vaccines. What's nice is we're going to have a couple different options, and doctors and hospitals are going to have different options to throw out there. We're also getting better on the treatment side, as I've said over the past several weeks as well. But if you've got a 90% success ratio, historically the flu on average is 40. So these numbers are good, okay? I'm not going to downplay that. But what you have to understand, it's going to take time to roll this thing out. Not everyone's going to get this. It's going to take time for the work this through the system. Several of our clients who are physicians have told me, Craig, this is going to take a couple of years really to improve and really to go away. So keep that also in the back of your mind when it comes to impact on the economy. All right. We've seen the economy be very healthy. We've seen things come back very quickly. A lot of that is due to government support. From a stimulus standpoint, from a Federal Reserve standpoint, that is going to continue. But there is an economic impact that eventually has to be dealt with, and that's what really, there's some uncertainty, okay? But now let's switch gears and get on what I'm actually some positive about. You know, I'm really big on the data, and I focus on the rate of change, all right? That's a calculus term, rate of change. It helps you kind of dial in what's really happening. Are things accelerating? If they're accelerating, to what degree? How quickly is the rate of change? How steep is the curve getting? Okay. And that goes also on the downside when things decelerate. How is the deceleration? Is it gaining pace? Is it gaining acceleration to the downside? So I focus on that a lot. What we're starting to see is right now we are still in an economic environment where we have growth decelerating and going down. We have inflation going up. Okay, that reflects our bearish on the dollar. It reflects our being long tech and large growth, which is where we're at. It also reflects our commodities play, commodities broad-based, commodities ag, commodities precious metals and gold. And that's where we sit from a standpoint of portfolio. As we move forward, we should see inflation continue to rise. The kicker is on the growth component. Here's what we are starting to see is the probability rising for us to be shifting to a different economic landscape where we have growth beginning to re-accelerate and inflation continuing to rise because the dollar will be continued to be devalued. I talked about MMT. I'm not going to hit that today. I'm going to touch on that again probably in the future here. Modern monetary theory. Remember it, learn about it, know it. It is basically because our government can print money, they don't care about how much debt they have. That's kind of scary to think about when you really start choking on that. But anyway, that's kind of the deal. So the probability is rising. Does that mean you go run in that direction? No. You sit and you wait for the data. I execute a data-dependent process when it comes to reallocating and the timing of those reallocations. And you know, sure as heck, I'm going to stick with that. All right. Moving on, politics. You gotta love it. You know what? The blue wave, the narrative that came out did not happen. You know, Biden most likely is going to be announced the winner. To me, he probably should. I don't know if there's enough out there that can turn that. So that's one given that we know. We saw the Republicans gain in the House while the Democrats still have control of the House. Their lead is much narrower. On the Senate side, we've seen the Democrats gain a few, but right now there's an 80% probability that Republicans maintain control of that. We know we have a runoff in Georgia, all right? Here's what this really means. We probably have more balance than we've had in a while, okay? Which means this, both sides are going to be forced to work with each other. I know right now that feels like a long shot, and some place may have to freeze over for that to happen, but they're going to have to work with each other. I think it means your far left agendas, Green New Deal garbage, but I'm not going to get on that. Big spending bill from an infrastructure standpoint, changing of taxes, reducing Trump's taxings, those most likely are off the table right now, because there's no way there's going to be any agreement on any of those voting mechanisms. So that probably will not happen. I think that is going to then shift over to where the markets are going to know what to expect. You hear me talk a lot about markets liking to know that uncertainty is low and there's not going to be any surprises out there. And I think the market is starting to position that. I think that's why it's held up so well in spite of the COVID numbers really kicking up here. So I do think we're going to get a stimulus deal. I think it's going to be smaller. Could we get it before year end? As time goes, that's looking less and less likely to happen. I think it's probably going to come in around 1 trillion versus the 2 and change that the Dems were floating and the 600 and change that the GOP was reporting or floating. So I think we're probably going to come in around the 1 trillion mark, and that is most likely going to come in, I'm going to say, first part of next year, which makes me feel bad for those that need it. Okay, there comes a point when I hope, from a political standpoint, that our pundits can take a step back and go, I wonder why I'm really here. I know I've got an ego the size of frickin' Texas, and I'm a narcissist at heart because I like being in the spotlight. But you hope they can set aside that just a hair and go, maybe I should do something for the people that got me here. Frick, kills me. Anyway, and I aim at both sides. I'm a little bit irritated with the entire process, as if you can't tell. But anyway, moving on, I think when you look at trade policy or any shift in trade policy, I think that's going to be very slow. And I'm actually anxious to see how Biden would handle that. In the past, he's been a friend of China. And we know Trump has been, yeah, I'm your friend, but I'm going to smack you upside the head too. So I'm anxious to see how Biden is going to posture, because there is a lot of support out there from a standpoint of holding China accountable on both sides. So I'm going to be real interested to see how he continues to approach that and what kind of tact he uses. Okay, it's going to be interesting to watch. Moving on here, and I'm about ready to factor this up here. I love my hat. This is in my office. I know you're jealous. No, it's not for sale, and I like it. Keeps my ears warm. Anyway, closing out here today. Love Trump or hate him. And I know we have people, you either love the guy or you really dislike for him. Your dislike for him is significant. When I talk to you guys out there, it's one or the other. There are a few of you in the middle. I'm kind of in the middle. I don't love the guy by any stretch. I think he's done some good stuff. I think he's done some bonehead stuff. Just calling a spade, all right? But anyway, here's what we have seen him do, and I'm going to give him credit for something. So for you that are on the left, don't freak out and shut me off right now. Hear me out here. If you're on the right, don't just start standing and applauding, because it's not out either. Think about this, okay? Take a step back, check the emotions on the side, and listen to me. What Trump has done is he has gotten Americans to re-engage in politics. This is a great thing. As Americans, it is our civic duty and our right to be part of the process. Okay? Every vote does count, contrary to even where you live. In Colorado, if you vote Republican, you think, well, crap, it's a blue state now. Guess what? Your vote still counts. If you are a Democrat and you live in South Dakota or in Kansas, you know what? Your vote still counts, people. It's important to vote. And I think what we've seen is people re-engage the political process. That's a very good thing. The thing I don't like is we've seen both parties really continue to strive for power. That's the objective, right? We want power. We want to have all of our people in place so that we can do what our agenda is. Here's what that causes, though. That invites polarization. You say, oh, Craig, well, my party does not support polarization. I don't care which side you're on, you're wrong, okay? That all trying to gain power does is it supports polarization. Case in point, recent study here went out and did a poll of both Republicans and Democrats, and 9 out of 10 people said that the other party was going to destroy America. You've heard that. You heard that from the Dems all during pre-election and during the election, okay? What's funny is on the other side, the Republicans think the same. They look at the crazies on the left and they go, those suckers are trying to blow our country up. Why do you think the socialism talk gets so much traction? Because they look at a few people, and this is the divide that's being created, okay? Stick with me here now. This is really what Trump has created, which is a good thing. Here's what my hope is. One, I hope people stay engaged, because we need to be engaged with what's happening. When you disengage, okay, you're basically disengaging from being an American and part of the process, and being an educated individual or an educated citizen, all right? Number two, I hope that people can start to be respectful and listen to the other side. I have lots of conversations with you guys, and you know where we stand. We respect each other. We can have a really good conversation. There are a few things we can agree to disagree on, okay? And that is fact. But the problem is we agree on a lot more stuff than we disagree on. So here's what I'm going to tell you. When you think about it, both sides have crazies on both sides. I know, they do. And if you're on one side and you think, oh, my side doesn't have crazies, you're crazy. Okay? Because we do. Each side has crazies on both sides. But you know what? Most of us are in the middle. And I want you to know that. So you know what? With your family members, with your friends, with people you come into contact with, you know what? Let's not get emotionally violent when you hear an opposing opinion that comes from the other side of the aisle from you. Let's be open. Let's listen. Let's talk. Okay? Now I know Biden has done a good job of talking. He wants to do that. The kicker is, are there going to be actions that follow? And it's not just from him, it's with all the other people. Okay? There's a whole thing, and I tell my kids this: actions speak louder than words. You can tell me till you are stinking blue in the face, but if you do nothing, you know what that is to me? It means you're a liar. Okay? And I'm calling you out on that. So let's practice our actions. Let's be respectful of others. Let's love each other, okay? We're all in this thing together, whether we like it or not. We are still blessed to live on and in the greatest country that's ever been here. So let's take a step back and let's be cognizant of the things we need to all be thankful for. And the thing is, I think it's a lot of the same stuff. So, see, I had 4 note cards up here. I kind of strategically placed them. I could do the Johnny Carson, flip them and whatnot, and they just go flying off. And, I used to love Johnny. You gotta love Johnny Carson. There's no more Johnny. It's okay. We got Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy was good when he was at home doing it with his little girls. Now he's okay. The other guys are wannabes. I don't watch any of them. But anyway, today, people, is Friday, November 13th. This is Craig Modelmog for Wall Street X's and O's. Thank you for joining me. Remember to tune in for the Jayhawks and the Zags on Thanksgiving Day. Rock, chalk, Jayhawk. I'm out.